This is Christopher John Bjerknes. It is August 16th, 2025. I recently saw that a Ukrainian sniper took out two Russian soldiers with one round at a range of 2.5 miles, setting a new world's record. And that is incredible on its own, but it made me think of the implications that has for political assassinations. And that brought to mind the novel and the film adaptations of the novel, The Day of the Jackal. And when I started remembering the plot of Day of the Jackal, a light went off in my head. And I thought, wait a minute, that's the story of the Trump assassination, the fake Trump assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania, a little bit over a year ago. And immediately when that happened, I started tweeting about the fact that it really looked fake. And I pointed out the discrepancies in the story and how it related to Revelations and the prophecy of the Antichrist being wounded in the head, as many people discussed at that time and prior to that time. And I tried to find out what the rifle is. I've been a lifelong gun enthusiast. I shot my first .45 1911 when I was 9 years old, and I hit a dead center bullseye at 50 feet with my first shot, and my brothers hated me ever since that. That was at Bell's gun shop on Manheim Road, I think in Franklin Park, Illinois. I'll never forget that. I've been in love with the Colt 1911 ever since. And I kept the remaining 6 shots from the magazine all in the black. And my brother could never hit the black. He's 5 years older than me, and he could never hit the black at that range. So, boo to you. Anyway, it occurred to me that the Day of the Jackal story is the story of Donald Trump and him supposedly dodging the bullet miraculously as the Son of God, miraculously dodging the bullet by turning his head right at the moment when the shot was fired. And that's the plot line of The Day of the Jackal, that Charles de Gaulle is being targeted by an assassin. And de Gaulle was a tall man, and he leaned forward to kiss a soldier that he was awarding a medal to, according to French tradition. And the bullet went past his head and missed him. And that's exactly what supposedly the narrative they created about the Trump assassination in Butler, Pennsylvania. And finally, as time went on, they showed some clips of, I don't know what law enforcement agency or federal agency it was, but they were up on the roof, and I caught a glimpse of the rifle. And it looked to me that it had a red dot sight and 45-degree offset iron sights, but no scope. And I thought, that's ridiculous. Why would a sniper utilize a close quarters battle rifle for a sniping mission? It made no sense at all. That rifle was set up to be used at close range from, say, 25 yards out to a maximum of 100 yards. And the shot was at 130 yards or more. I think 400 and something feet, 430, 450 feet. And that's a long shot to be making with a red dot, especially for a guy who is not a trained shot and who was wearing big, thick Coke bottle glasses. Because with a red dot, if you have an astigmatism, the red dot itself that you're aiming with looks like a paint splatter on the wall, like somebody threw a bucket of paint on the wall. And it's very hard to target at close range. It's not that hard to target, but at long range, it's virtually impossible. because the red dot spreads out and takes on an amorphous, non-circular shape. So I was tweeting about that and pointing out that it made no sense that someone would use that as a sniper's rifle, and there were all kinds of discrepancies. The young man was walking around with a rangefinder, and it was identified as a rangefinder, and he wasn't stopped. He had a ladder that he was able to put up. He was flying a drone. He was spotted on the roof, and there was not an immediate response to it. And he was, later it was found out that he appeared in a BlackRock commercial at one point. So I went over a lot of these facts and explained what minute of angle is with a rifle and how difficult it would be to utilize a red dot at that range and all the factors that would play into it, yanking the trigger, the barrel being from a fresh, clean barrel and a cold bore, and the fact that the minute of angle of the red dot itself is compounded with the minute of angle of the rifle. And then I found out it was a DPMS rifle, and they showed pictures of it. And it was one of the low-end DPMS rifles. It wasn't one of the bull barrel 24-inch stainless steel barrel target rifles, which are supremely accurate, which some of them have like a 0.5 minute of angle. This was one of the cheap DPMS rifles, and my experience with those is that they're 3 to 5 minute of angle rifles, which means at the range that he was shooting at, they would print groups of about 5 inches, making it very difficult to make a headshot. And then you got to compensate for the wind and all the other factors. And if the optic isn't properly zeroed, which it almost never is, especially when the rifle's been bouncing around in a backpack and was left overnight and has been bouncing around on the roof, those optics get out of alignment. And it just didn't smell right. None of it smelled right. And I called it as a fake. And then it occurred to me that, wait a minute, this is the plot line of the Day of the Jackal. And I thought that must have occurred to a lot of other people because it's so obvious. Once you start thinking about it, it just fits. So many things in sequence fit. And sure enough, I wanted to do a search to see if anyone had gone down that rabbit hole and explored it. And not only had someone done that, the very author of the novel, The Day of the Jackal, Frederick Forsyth, said that guy, Thomas Matthew Crooks, had copied his book and was inspired by his book. And I found an article online discussing that. So let's have a look at that. It's really interesting and very telling. Sure enough, when I looked into it, I found this article on Radar. Trump rally shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks ripped off kill plan from Day of the Jackal, says writer of Hitman classic Frederick Forsyth. Donald Trump shooter Matthew Thomas Crooks has been accused of ripping his sinister assassination plot off from a movie more than 50 years old. RadarOnline.com can reveal Crooks, who was shot to death by a Secret Service sniper after firing 8 shots at former President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th, allegedly lifted his deadly scheme from writer Frederick Forsyth's 1971, that's when the novel was done, the movie I think came out in 73, Hitman classic, The Day of the Jackal. Forsyth, aged 86, said that young fellow they shot dead was doing something very similar to what the Jackal did. He continued, long range, high elevation on a roof with a sniper scope. He didn't have a sniper scope, he had a red dot. A 2 minute of angle red dot that was not magnified. And a rifle. The rifle was a DPMS knockoff of an AR-15. Wait for the appearance. It very nearly worked. If Trump hadn't moved his face just a bit, the bullet would have gone through the forehead. So it can't possibly be the kid who scripted this fake assassination, because he could not have made Trump turn his head at the precise moment that the shot started going off. So it is impossible that it was the kid who was following the Day of the Jackal. Instead, it was the whole crew of Trump and those aligned with Trump who set this up and who faked it. And the blood on his ear looked fake. The rapid rate at which it healed looked fake. The fact that he never discusses it anymore, even though he raises the Russia hoax like a broken record every chance he gets. He never talks about these fake assassination attempts because his conscience won't let him, and he doesn't want people discussing it and looking into it because it was fake. So let's look into the film adaptations of Day of the Jackal and the sequences when the sniper takes aim at Charles de Gaulle. Another interesting thing is the sniper's original name was supposedly Alexander Dugin, as in Alexander Dugin, the Russian philosopher who is Putin's brain, who wrote Foundations of Geopolitics in 1997, in which he called for the conquest of Ukraine and many of the other things that Putin is doing. It's just a very interesting coincidence, but it's purely coincidence. So here is a scene. Let's look at this other one first. This is a scene from the 1973 film adaptation, the one that Frederick Forsyth approved of. He didn't approve of the Bruce Willis version. And you can see how this is exactly what they claimed happened with Trump. Now notice that this sniper has a scope with crosshairs, and it's magnified. The shooter, alleged shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks, utilized a red dot, which the one that he utilized had a 2 minute of angle central dot, and then it had like a 63 or 65 minute of angle outer ring. Now to use that at a range of 130 yards and aiming for the head, not the torso. A torso shot, it would be pretty easy to make. But a headshot with that setup, especially for a kid potentially with an astigmatism and Coke bottle glasses, that's ridiculous. He should have had some kind of magnified optic. Either had the red dot magnified, which would have made it much more doable with a magnifier, adjacent to the red dot, which is an easy setup to make, or far better to have had a scope with crosshairs, and especially one with crosshairs, which would enable you to determine the range based on the top of the head to the belt line and make a very easy shot at that range. Instead, he used a close quarters battle rifle, which is ridiculous. And I'll get into the details of that at the end. French national anthem written by a Freemason. So that looks to be about the same range. He's got probably a 4-power scope with crosshairs. That would actually, from that range, that looks more magnified than a 4-power, but anyway. Now, did you see that? That's the famous scene that gets repeated in so many movies, that when somebody's trying to assassinate someone, some sniper, the person moves just before or as the shot is taken, and the bullet misses them. That happens a lot with deer, especially when you're shooting with a bow or a crossbow. It makes so much noise that deer jumps. But this became a standard in movies ever since. And that's exactly what they claim happened with Trump, that he turned his head away and the bullet grazed his ear instead of hitting into his eye or whatever, or braining him. So we have the sniper getting shot after taking a shot, the shot missing the head because the target moves his head immediately prior to the bullet striking the street behind him, and then the sniper gets taken out before he can do follow-up shots to take out the goal. That's the exact script of what happened with Trump. And if you recall, Trump, after he did his famous fight, fist-raised photo op, was shuffled off into a limousine. Now, there was no way at that time that the Secret Service could have known that there were no other shooters. Someone called out, "Shooter is down." There could have been 10 shooters. And they took no precautions really to safeguard him as they were carrying him away, which is another tell that all of this was staged. But that was also part of the other very different adaptation of the story of the Jackal in 1997 with Bruce Willis, where the target is the Vice President of the United States, who's a woman, the president's wife, I think it is. I think I misspoke. And I can't remember whether it was the vice president or the president's wife. Anyway, after the shots are taken, she's shuffled away into the limousine and driven off, which is exactly the way they staged the production of Trump's assassination.
Red minivan, hillside by the trees.
1 o'clock. Jesus.
Range it.
762 meters.
That's a long shot. So this is similar to the snipers taking out crooks on the roof. She gets taken down and covered by Secret Service, just like Trump.
Right, I'm after him.
The crowd gets shot up and disperses. Trump's crowd didn't obey that part of the script. They stuck him out. would all be too hard to fake, so they kept it simple. But here's Trump being shuffled away. The scene with the Secret Service woman who couldn't reholster her pistol. This is almost identical to what happened to Trump. Look at that scene. It's identical to what happened with Trump. Let's look at that again. She gets swept away like Trump. He's having a hard time with his pistol like the Secret Service woman. She caught a lot of flack for that. And then they stuff her into the limousine. Exactly the same angles and everything as in this movie. So this is Whale Insider posted this video on Twitter that went around a lot. Supposedly this is how Trump moved his head just prior to the shots. But you could hear two shots ringing, and it's hard to tell the way his head was moving. It would have been so easy to cue him with a buzzer in his back pocket or one of those vibrating phones or whatever. There could have been so many ways. Somebody in the crowd could have cued him when to grab his ear or move his head, or when the shots started ringing out. It was obviously staged, and it was so easy to stage it and then to build up this narrative, which mirrors exactly the plot of Day of the Jackal.
Take a look what happened.
So supposedly the bullet was going to strike him in the forehead and then veered off. Didn't veer off, but he moved his head, so it clipped his ear. But boy, did his ear heal real fast. It's miraculous how his ear healed so fast, and he doesn't show off his scar, which would be like Trump. He likes to show things off. He's very flamboyant.
Take a look what
He's almost an
happened.
exhibitionist, the way he likes to show things off. But he doesn't talk about his ear, and it sure healed fast. And they hosed all the evidence off the roof right away. And they scuttled that kid's body away right away. And all that with his body and that rifle, that all could have been faked. It would have been very easy. He supposedly left his rifle overnight, if I remember correctly. They could have put dummy rounds in the magazine. They could have taken the firing pin out of the bolt or replaced the bolt very easily. It's very easy with an AR-15 to crack it open from the back pin and pull out the bolt control group and replace the bolt with one that didn't have a firing pin in it.
Take a look what happened.
Why don't we see the Secret Service or FBI testing that rifle?
Take a look what happened.
I immediately called for tests on the rifle to determine how accurate it was, what minute of angle it would have taking those shots at the president, whether it had good ammunition in it. Every rifle barrel prefers specific ammunition. It will always shoot. If you have two different brands of ammunition, it will always shoot better with one than the other.
Take a look
And it can
what
make a
happened.
huge difference. I mean, a rifle like that, capable of grouping, say, being very generous, 3 minute of angle, in other words, 3 and 5 shot groups at 100 yards, can open up to 6 or 10 inches with different
Take
ammunitions.
a look what
Ammunition.
happened.
Here is video
Take a
of
look
him
what happened.
dodging the bullet.
Take a look what happened.
That's when
Take
he
a
turned
look
his
what
head,
happened.
which people are claiming that's very similar
Take a look what happened.
with De Gaulle. His head dodges the bullet right as the shot is taken. Here's another angle on it, but it cuts out right when Trump would be smearing blood on his own ear, and the Secret Service would be helping him fake it.
Happened to our country, probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Then they shuffle him away, just like in the 1997 version of Day of the Jackal. And he does his famous fist pumps and fight, fight, fight. It was all a stage photo op. A lot like those Marines on Iwo Jima, if I remember right, with the flag. That was a stage picture too, that they made into a statue. It was all fake, it was all staged, just like this nonsense. This is the scene I'm talking about where they stuff Trump into the limousine. Now all of a sudden they're getting him in the bulletproof limousine because they're worried there may be other shooters, but they didn't give a rat's ass when he was up on stage, and there could have been other shooters in the crowd, or bombs, or who knows what, a helicopter flying in to take him out. It was just ridiculous, the response. He said he needed to get his shoes. He stopped and posed and told them to give him a second so he could do his fist pumps and say, fight, fight, fight. The cameras were all in the right place, as so many people have pointed out. And he turned to get a better angle on different cameras to do again the fist pump and the fight, fight, fight. And I think it was a New York Times photographer who had taken another famous picture, who got the picture supposedly of the bullet whizzing past his ear. It's real incredible how all these things fit just right. Everything came together just right. So there he is being stuffed into the limousine, just like in that 1997 film adaptation of Day of the Jackal. And there she is fumbling with her pistol to try to reholster it, and then pretending that she's getting ready to take a shot because she didn't know how to get it back in the holster. It's just like this scene. The same angle, the guy with his pistol drawn, everything is identical between those two. I wonder if they had the same director. So this is that commercial that so many people pointed out. Thomas Matthew Crooks appeared in a commercial for BlackRock, and they were trying to tie him to BlackRock, which I don't buy into, but it's awfully interesting that he was known to these figures and appeared in this commercial.
A special place to come to school, and
There
gave
it
as
is.
much as he could to help the place to come to school, and gave this place a special place to come to school.
Isn't that something? BlackRock. So now I'm going to start getting into the details of the rifle. And to me, that's the real tell. There is no way somebody who was able to pull all this off would not have taken off that red dot and put on at least a 4X 4-power deer rifle scope. He could have taken that red dot scope and traded it in at any gun shop for a used 3 to 9 power scope, or even just a regular Tasco 4X Walmart scope would have been a much, much better choice. And then he would have had the crosshairs and he would have had the magnification. Other than that, he could very easily have put one of those folding magnifiers with the red dot so that he would have had magnification, and that would have helped substantially. But he would have been much better off with a regular deer rifle scope, let alone an ACOG or some military scope. It's just ridiculous. It would have been very difficult for him to make that shot under stressful conditions, and it would have been almost impossible for him to attempt a headshot. He would have probably switched to a torso shot unless there was something obstructing it, or unless he tried to make a torso shot and it just went way off, which is definitely a possibility. But I maintain that this whole thing was staged. This is a clip from the Telegram channel of the journalist who recorded the Ukrainian soldier sniper taking a shot at 2.5 miles, assisted by a drone with AI, killed 2 birds with 1 stone at 2.5 miles, 4,000 meters. That's just incredible. The yaw of a bullet at that range, the drop, the wind deflection, it blows my mind.
Азімут 193. Постріл. Піднімаю вище, занижаю кулі. Постріл.
Давай, скоро небо може бути грязне. Время.
Ще 2 кабачка.
Look at that.
Єсть.
2.5 miles. Do you realize just squeezing the trigger just a little bit differently, how that's going to make the shot veer off with even just the slightest difference of angle, how that angle compounds out to that reach at 2.5 miles. I mean, if you figure a body is 2.5 feet wide, at that range, that angle could shift just if he was breathing or holding his breath, compressing his breath just a little bit differently, or if it was up against his shoulder a little bit differently, he would not have made that shot. So let's get into some of the particulars with Crooks and the narrative around how he supposedly shot the president. None of it makes sense, because he could have been stopped. There were so many opportunities to stop him, and there was so much negligence in protecting Trump, a presidential candidate, that it really doesn't fit. And then you compound that with the fact that it matches the script in so many ways of both the films of Day of the Jackal and the novel of Day of the Jackal. And then subsequent to the shooting in 2024, they made a TV series about the Day of the Jackal a few months after this happened. On July 12th, Crooks went to a shooting range and practiced with his rifle, a DPMS Panther Arms produced AR-15 style rifle. This was a 16-inch barrel gun that he put, or someone put, a arrow forearm on the rifle and a fore-end grip. So this is a fore-end that matches up with the receiver that has Picatinny rail all the way through, and then on top of that, he put 45-degree offset sights. So these are 45-degree offset sights. I think I'm the first person in the world who pointed that out in my tweets. This is a Halosan red dot sight. There is no magnifier attached to it, so it is unmagnified. That's an unmagnified optic. It looks like a bullet hit the mil-spec collapsible stock. And that rifle is not a quality gun. A quality AR-15 shoots 1 minute of angle or better. That gun set up the way it is with the very premium ammunition that it shoots best is at best a 3 minute of angle and more likely a 5 or 6 minute of angle gun. You add on top of that he's using an unmagnified red dot, he'd be likely to have 10-inch groups at the range he was shooting. If he got lucky, if he was even able to properly identify a target, because that red dot, as I'm going to show you, really obscures a target at that range, and it's very difficult to use even if you have perfect vision, which this guy did not have. And then you got to factor in the fact that that red dot, when he went to shoot with it, he would have to zero it perfectly at a given range. And then he would have to compensate for elevation and windage on top of that, which is almost impossible to do with the red dot that he was using. And then you have to factor in the wind. Did he yank the trigger? Was he shaking? Was he nervous? Was the rifle slipping around? Was it or his elbow slipping around on that metal roof that he was poised on? So you compound all these factors, and what would have been an easy shot if this was a quality AR that was capable of sub-minute of angle accuracy, had a proper scope, properly mounted and properly zeroed on it, that would have been a very easy shot. He very easily could have hit a target at that range straight in the snot box and splatter his brains out of the back of his head.